Hi, everyone. Welcome inside the Astro Studio, where you get a peek behind the scenes of the work of the astrologers we love to learn from. I'm your host and astro auntie, Sarah El Harar, and today I'm talking to my friend, the brilliant Clarissa Dolphin. For those of you who don't know her, Clarissa is a certified harmonic astrologer, a writer, and a diviner. She earned two BAs from the University of Pittsburgh and a master's from University of the Arts in London. She in London? I don't know. Okay. She wrote the horoscopes for the iconic Mountain Astrologer magazine and is a mystic Medusa locum. Clarissa has also been featured in the New York Times, no big deal, The Career Astrologer, Dirty Laundry, Notion, and Faint. She's conducted breakthrough research on the lunar nodes, the quincunx, Arabic parts, and Chiron. Nerd. Clarissa lectures and serves clients in Los Angeles, and you can reach her and learn more about her amazing work at clarissadolphinexplainsitall.com and follow her at Clarissa Dolphin on all socials. Hi, Clarissa.
Sarah, hi. Thank you for having me. I love you so much. And I also think you're brilliant. So I'm just so excited to be here and nerd out with you.
I'm
And
so
everybody else, hi.
I'm so happy you said yes. I would have forced you to say yes if you had said no. I would have said yes, yes, you're doing this because I've loved your work ever since I met you. I just love you as a person. You're so smart, you're so interesting. Your angle is always like surprising and intelligent, and it's just like such a pleasure to have this conversation with you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, tell us a little bit about like who you were before and when you met astrology. Like, at what age did you find out you were a Cancer, for instance? Like, when did that happen?
I can't remember an age when I wasn't connected to astrology. So when we were in preschool, 4 years, 5 years old, I already knew I was a Cancer. My parents were just so entrenched in spirituality. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and they're also from LA. And like in the 80s, I think it's just cultural in Los Angeles, not even 80s, it is like very kind of like this profuse seeking culture where it's like, what's up with Buddhism? What's up with astrology? What's up with tarot? What's up with I Ching? So really like even my name, I have four names, I have two middle names, and my parents named me these names so that I would have a zero karmic path in numerology. And my godfather Emmett, who's no longer with us physically, but he's always here and I love him, Emmett Morgan, he did I Ching all the time. So that kind of translated to my mom, who had R.L. Wing I Ching books, and she would throw the coins, throughout my childhood. And she also had Linda Goodman books. You can see them with all my books, like the sun sign books, the love sign books, from the 70s. Like those were on our tables, my live coffee table. So as a little girl, that's the stuff I was into. So yeah, that's like the hardest question to answer because it's like when and then I was like, oh my God, I'm a Cancer. No wonder I love being in my room because I was like a little girl who, although I was like social and I had minor popularity or whatever, after school, people would knock on my door and kids to play. And I would just hide in my room because, like, I would just rather be in my room with my blankie and my stuffed animals than any of that stuff. And then, so immediately reading about Cancer is like, oh, it all makes sense. So,
So you were found early. It found you early, yeah.
yeah.
And so when did you get your first reading? Like what was the click? Do you remember like receiving your first reading or like when did you learn more and really get to face your astrology?
Mm. My first official reading with a practitioner like yourself and I in a consultation was post Saturn return during my Saturn return. 40 now, so that was about only about 11 years ago. Prior to that, though, I had always been engaged as a fan of horoscopes. So Mystic Medusa, for example, I've been reading, at this point in my career, got to work with her, which is incredible. And she's incredible. She's like amazing. But 20 years ago, while I was in high school and college, I was reading her website, while I'm doing exams. I was studying to be a writer and all that kind of stuff. And so I knew all of the astrologers. I knew Susan Miller. I knew every single astrologer. And over here in Los Angeles, when I was growing up, there's a publication that was then published by Village Voice called the LA Weekly, which was like this weekly newspaper. It was excellent. Now it's unfortunately garbage. But back in the day, there was an astrologer. Her name's Rocky Gardner in the LA Weekly. It was her weekly column would be published as Rocky's horoscope. So, like in high school, I just back in the day in the 90s. LA Weekly was literally in a newspaper vending machine on every corner, pretty much. So I was like addicted. So anyway, fast forward to my Saturn return, and then it got serious. Like it became like not just something that I was just so deeply into as a fan, but like, oh, it's time to actually pursue this path. Saturn return as like a legit life path. And that's when I took the step to like finally book a reading. And I gotta say, I started off with like reports, who was my first? Oh my God, I'm trying to think of who was my first astrological reading. I don't remember. Wow. I don't remember. Maybe it wasn't that remarkable. Sorry.
It's like, oh, okay. No big deal. But sometimes, like, I don't know, like sometimes they're like your friends, or I know that it wasn't my first reading that really impacted me the most. Like, I had a reading before then that was just like mid and sure. But yeah, for me, it was like the second or third one that was like, what the hell? Yeah. Yeah, and so at your Saturn return, you decided to like become more involved, like more study seriously.
Yes, at my Saturn return, that's when I enrolled in my apprenticeship to become a certified astrologer. And that was also like other spiritual awakenings, like shamanic awakenings. Like before that, like it was almost like spirituality was um totally inaccessible as a profession, completely inaccessible as a profession, right? And particularly me doing it. Who am I to blah 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 do astrology or whatever? And that was a come to Jesus moment when it was like, no, actually, you're supposed to do this. Like you're not just like a fan, you are. And in hindsight, when you're talking about like readings, like with friends and stuff, I've been reading friends' charts since high school, like, and vice versa, but it was like a party thing, right? And then so the Saturn return, it did make it serious. And it was like, okay, this is a courageous switch into something I've always enjoyed and has been deeply a part of my heart into actually providing this at a serious professional level for other people.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So what was the first training you took?
The first training I took was for vibrational astrology. So it was like literally the apprenticeship program. But then after, and that was 2.5 years. And I'm glad I did that because before that, vibrational astrology is a form of harmonic astrology. Before I did that, I had already been on Astro Cafe. I'd already read, I don't know how many books about astrology. I already knew about the 12 houses, the planetary placements. I knew all the icons. I knew all the zodiac signs. I knew about the aspects and stuff. But like I at the point before I enrolled in that, I was like, okay, this is like limiting, right? Like it's a lot of regurgitation. There's something missing. Then I found vibrational astrology. And so that was 2.5 years. When did I start that? 2015. And so then in 2018, when I graduated, then I moved on to other astrologies. Then I moved on directly after that to solar arc, which I trained with Bob Glasscock, who, in a roundabout way, first of all, I love him to death, and he's such a good astrologer. He's one of the astrologers that I initially booked with, one of my first who blew me away. Like he's so excellent. But anyway, like he actually was Linda Goodman's good friend back in the 60s and 70s. And when she closed her practice, she gave him all of her clients. So it was just such a weird how we're all connected as astrologers and how we end up meeting each other. Also, Rocky Gardner, the LA Weekly columnist, an astrologer, I ended up doing during my Saturn return all these self-help classes with her godson. Like of all the people in the world, like anyway, so yeah, the vibrational astrology, then solar arc, then I got certified in horary at School of Traditional Astrology. And then all kinds of untold trainings and like little classes here and there in between that. I really believe in training as an astrologer. I think that it provides, first of all, you learn so much. Like you learn so much as a student and as a teacher. I know you're a teacher as well, so am I. Even when I'm teaching, it's like, oh my God, like there's so much. So to restrict that from happening, I think I don't even have words for why would you do that, right? I think like also, I think it provides, I think you're going to be seeking training if you want to be excellent and if you have humility. Like, I think that's the thing that is being a humble astrologer or to be able to exercise humility when you're dealing with people with very human, raw processes and situations and events that are happening, that's only going to make you an excellent, a better astrologer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so much in what you said that I could unpack, but this last bit is super important, like the humility to stay a student. I think it's like part of like the agreement of the code of ethics of astrologers or something. There's like something in there about like, continue learning. This is a bottomless pit. There's not going to be a day when you know all of the strategies. You're never gonna, it's never ending. You will continue learning. And so continue doing that. And also, yeah, having the humility of like knowing that you don't have to know everything, but that you should show up to know as much as possible, for sure. For sure. And so, okay, so vibrational astrology, like the first guy, like how did you find him? Was it like an LA perchance kind of like LA story, friend of a friend that had astrology?
Oh no, girl, that was a Google search.
Oh, yeah.
That yeah, that was it.
You search for vibrational, you already knew like that was where you were going?
Not at all. It was like a happenstance. What other kinds of astrologies were out there? Then I found the website, then I read the proclamation, and I was like, oh my God, because what really drove me about the vibrational proclamation and that school of astrology, which is now they're still trying to keep it going. But it's changed a lot since I was a student. Um, but that part of the ethos that I still pose today and embrace as my purview as an astrologer is the research element. So the research is so exciting to me, like how astrology is not this kind of like stagnant vehicle of historicity, right? Because it is. It's like astrology's been around for thousands of years, and that's incredible. All of the history is so
Rich.
it's it's so rich. Like it's so rich and interesting, right? Like I can think about it all day. Like it's so cool. And then the vibrational element of being able to use the technology that we have now, the computers, the data, all the charts, and run it within a second to to define how astrology works now. That's when I saw read in that proclamation when I did the random Google search and I found the random website and I read this. That was like, oh, hell yes, because it so modernizes astrology. Like it's so, like, it's not just available in a historical or social context, it's also available in the way that we view and interact with life in 2025 and beyond.
Can you explain to me like a little bit like how that differs from like other systems? Like what techniques would one use and like how does, what types of charts you pull with vibrational astrology?
Yeah. And so with vibrational and harmonic astrology, because they're both the only distinction between vibrational and harmonic is that vibrational is based on extreme case sampling research, which is like a whole bunch of charts, 20,000 to 30,000 charts with AA data, and who has the strongest planetary configurations and or harmonics of what you want to research. And there are specific things that are strong in harmonic astrology. That is going to be orb. So the stronger the orb, the closer the things are together, the stronger the energy. That means that it's screaming. There's also determination in terms of strength, also is how many bodies are involved. If there are 4 or 5 planets within orb, it's going to be way stronger than 3 planets in orb and things like that. In the way that I teach, especially at a beginning level, harmonics is with the base 6 harmonics. That is the 5th harmonic, 7th, 8th, 9th, 11th, and 13th. And basically, harmonic astrology, just in general, everybody uses harmonic astrology. I would say 99% of our astrologers do. They just don't know it because harmonics are literally aspects. So that square you're reading is the 4th harmonic. The opposition is the 2nd harmonic. The distinction with harmonic astrology as a technique is that it's not limited to Ptolemaic aspects. So when we have this 360-degree wheel, it is literally infinite. Literally. So that means that you can slice it up. You
Anyway,
can have anyway, forever. You can have the millionth harmonic. You can have the third, the 31st, and now we have the technology to generate the charts so that we can see them instantly on our computer software programs. Whereas back in the day, the earliest harmonic astrologers were Vedic astrologers. So the Saptamsa and the Navamsa chart, the Navamsa chart's the 9th harmonic. So Saptamsa chart is the 7th harmonic. But it took them forever to do it by hand, to calculate that. And so now the formula to do that, which I'm not going to bore you with that, even though I'm
cool.
on the edge of doing that, but like, huh? Sorry, what were you
Go
saying?
ahead. I mean, it's pretty cool. I'm kind of fascinated, so don't hold back on me, honestly. Like, go for it. Yeah, like, give me all the harmonic juice you have. Yeah.
Oh my God. See, and that's like real astrologers, right? Like down to the formulas. Like, how is the chart like actually constructed? Yeah, we'll save the formula because it's easier shown than said. Um, but yeah, so basically the techniques are get up the base 6 harmonics, read direct midpoint structures as well. And then also in harmonic astrology, we read basically it's I think conceptually, it's similar to like symmetrical astrology and things like that because we're reading these crazy shapes. So you were mentioning the Grand Trine, in transit in 2025. And that's a big deal for a transit chart to have like a Grand Trine. And a bigger deal for a transit chart to have are things like kite patterns, mystic rectangles, the pentagram patterns, and things like that. In harmonics, those are common. And because the harmonics have all these crazy shapes in it, like the kite patterns, like the mystic, and that just visually alone shows you the strongest patterns and resonances in the chart. So also with harmonics, like technically, it's read like music, period, full stop, almost like exactly like music,
Yeah,
sheet music, and you feel it too.
right.
So
Okay, wait, go on, please. Know that. Like, tell me about the music thing because it meets other like so this is really something I'm fascinated with. Like it's like the frequency. It would read like an aspect as a frequency, like it's a harmonic because it's a frequency, right? So, for instance, you said the fourth harmonic. I think that people are very familiar with it in life. Like, okay, and does a fourth also include the opposition because two is is that right? In a fourth harmonic, there's also oppositions and conjunctions as well, or no?
they travel. They so like a fourth harmonic, so a square in the natal chart is conjunct in the fourth harmonic. I believe an opposition actually remains an opposition in the fourth harmonic because it's conjunct in the second, and then it goes opposite again in the fourth. So they travel.
So you pull out different charts. So when it's not like your basic natal chart, your basic like house system that you see. For every harmonic, you would pull out a chart. That's the chart of that harmonic, which is the same chart, but read through the vision of that harmonic, right? And so how
Yeah.
do you pull out like nine charts for your clients when they come in?
Yeah, so just like the very basic reading. First of all, I pull out like I'm on a whole nother I feel like I'm on a whole nother level with this because I be pulling out charts. So for me, my basic techniques for a chart reading when I receive a client for their consultation is gonna be I'm gonna have the solar arc charts, I'm gonna have the solar arc tri-wheel going on, and I'm also gonna have the um solar arc to natal listings for the year ahead. And those listings include when solar arc is triggering something in harmonics for the client. So it's going to be the solar arc. I got my consultation chart up, which is a horary technique. Then I also have at least the base six harmonics. I also have their natal direct midpoint structures. You can read midpoint structures in their harmonics too. And then I also have all these other little apps that detect their highest frequencies that show all their highest harmonics as well. So those are all the things that I have before that and I review before I see clients.
Wow, that seems like a lot of work.
It does, and it is. I think a lot of like good astrologers, we do a lot of work. Like our job is hard. I'm sorry. Like I've been actually facing that as like an existential crisis for the past 2 years. Just like how difficult the work is. It's so rewarding. It's the most beautiful work ever because like the level of transformation and you can feel like I think you can feel it in the soul. You get the consultation is like such this special part of the universe, and you can feel like how palpably powerful all this divine information is going through you, but it ain't an easy job. I think that it becomes, in my experience, I'd love to hear your experience too, but in my experience, it becomes easier after practice. I've been reading harmonics for at least a decade. I've been reading astrology charts for more like 2 to 3. And so, like, and I've performed hundreds of consultations. I've done a lot of research and put thousands of hours into it. So that's why it's easy now. in a
Absolutely.
lot of ways. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's just that for me in session, I don't know that I would feel sometimes like I'll pull different charts more like depending on what's going on with the client and how much specificity I need. But like I would feel super overwhelmed having so many charts to consider, you know? For me as a tourist, that feels like, ooh, what? Like, simplify me, you know? Like essence, you know? But yeah, like I'm curious if you see a difference in like the what a client would get from having their red chart in this way. Like we're talking about frequency, we're talking about like even like music notes and stuff and like I'm wondering if there's like a different level of impact for your clients when you're talking on this frequency, on this soul frequency level. Like can you yeah, tell me a little bit about that?
Well, my most common feedback is you see me, this is incredible. Like, this is amazing. I feel like I need to learn this astrology over. No, I've had how many other sessions before this session, and nobody's ever talked about this, but I do this all the time. I do this every day. This is what I really want. Blah, blah, blah. Like, it is like miraculous, right? Because you're missing like the details that you can't visibly see in the natal chart. You see all the details in the harmonics and why it's frequency and stuff. Like, so imagine here's the natal chart right here, right? Like, and so let's turn it to the side. So it's like you have like this forward facing natal chart, but then you've got all these different like strings and resonances and energies and dimensions that contribute to making this. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not like it's so exact. That's another thing with, the harmonic technique that I see clients talking about all the time is like this is literally the exact thing that I do or am facing or whatever. Because you see that resonance there, and then you just read the resonances. So I think like I totally understand the overwhelm of like all these charts, but in harmonics, it's like, and another reason why we read it like music, it's like, here's the high note. Like you can follow the chorus and the refrain by the parameters of our rules and techniques, right? 3 planets or more in every current. We have allowable orb. And so then you see all these things real quickly and then it immediately resonates. But yeah, like that happened to me too. Like as I was training as a student, I allowed the professor to read my chart like for class. And one of my strongest natal direct midpoint, it's probably the strongest, not one, it's the strongest, is Uranus conjunct my Mars Jupiter midpoint at 2 minute orb, which is very strong. That's insane. 2 minutes from partile. So anyway, long story short, that energy, we already know what Mars, Jupiter, Uranus is as one energy. That's like, that is crazy. It's a lot of energy. It's badass. It's moving all the time, all that kind of stuff. But like, it's also in my 11th harmonic. So you can look at my first harmonic, my natal chart. You can see that I'm a Cancer. I don't have much above the horizon. I've got 3 planets in Cancer. I've got Mars, Saturn in Scorpio, Gemini rising, anaretic Gemini 2931. Most of the planets are below the horizon except for Neptune, Jupiter, and whatever. So my chart, the natal chart, looks very tranquil, but I am far from tranquil. Like I'm very Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, 11th harmonic, 22nd harmonic. 11th harmonic is insatiable restlessness. It's fast. And so put that into context like a little more. I have always been busy since I was a little girl. I've always lived in cities. I always have something to do. That's very Mars, Jupiter, Uranus. I need to exercise, otherwise I will go insane. I am an entrepreneur, and like most of my business is digitized online and all that kind of stuff. And I'm also a raver. A lot of 11th harmonic people are ravers. Like party all night long, drum and bass, like hit me with some house music, all that kind of stuff. Like that energy you cannot see in my natal chart. You can't. I've got one sun trine Mars, but sun trine Mars does not encapsulate Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, 11th harmonic. So it's like fills in those gaps. Like what? Oh, my first harmonic, it looks so chill. Well, then why am I on a plane here, there, or here and with 5,000 things to do every day and going blah, 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 like I'm melting down? That is what filled in. And it's not like conceptual. It's like, no, my life is actually more like that than it is, my chill ass natal chart. So
Mm. Wow. Okay. So I think I understand. So for each chart is a vibe, basically. And so each harmonic is like you're checking. It would be like almost, okay, not unlike the houses a little bit, but like another house. Maybe, okay, your other home. For each kind like type of like energy, so frequency of the self, it would be.
yes.
So you would say like, okay, first is like your chill. Because it's a conjunction, you're like, is that right? Like, oh my God, insight, is that the first harmonic? Is like your insights, your what? Because it's the conjunction. What is it?
Ooh, well, the first harmonic, first of all, I think it's not well defined in harmonic astrology yet. I think we still need to do more research on the first harmonic because it literally is everything. Like you can't have harmonics without the natal chart. So I'm not a natal chart hater. It's impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, wait. So tell me, so which one would you feel like comfortable like describing so that I understand it in terms of like the aspect that it's related to? So
Yeah.
so tell me, yeah, which one? Like the
Oh
fourth
my
harmonic.
God.
Tell me.
Look what you're unleashing, Sarah. Oh my God.
To listen. I know my people who are listening, they're like, what? What? This is crazy. They want to know. They want to know. It is crazy when you come from like the classic like natal chart and like as far as you go, like, oh my God, ooh, evolutionary astrology, that's so weird. Girl, harmonic astrology is way out there. Uranian astrology is way out there. Like there's
Yeah.
some tools that you want to hear about and some perspectives that we want to hear about that people are not familiar with. And so for me, this is like way exciting. I'm registered at your school. I didn't go very far yet, but I'm registered at Harmonic Astrology 101. Like, this is, I want Clarissa to be my teacher. Like, this is, I want to know this. This is something I cannot go on much longer without really understanding. So I'm super happy that I registered. I think like a lot of people that I know would really love it as well. So I'm highly recommending it. Super affordable and really great. But okay, let's get back. Fourth harmonic, describe the vibe.
Thank you, Sarah. First of all, I'm honored. Like, that is so fire. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's do this. So the first harmonic is the conjunction. So if we're talking about defining the first harmonic, like it is literally the ultimate force and source or whatever. Go to the second harmonic, which is the opposition. All it means is with others. That's it. Third harmonic, the trine, is just like an ever and not ceasing flow of energy. So it's not good or bad. It just is like imagine like a river and you can have rapids in it or whatever, but like try to just stop the river. You're not going to stop the river. That's the trine. It's just like this flowing energy, good or bad, but it's kind of uncontrollable. The fourth harmonic, the square aspect in the natal chart, that is just action. And it's action without color, though. It's just like this moving, dynamic thing that's going somewhere very specific Then we get to the fifth harmonic, which is the quintile aspect in the natal chart. And the from the fifth harmonic, that's when the harmonics start to develop character, full like bodied personhood versus the first, second, third, and fourth, which are just like it doesn't have like color. So the quintile becomes creativity and creative free flow. And that then relates to a whole bunch of different things like strategy, playing, games, where you get lost. And it's also lucky. It has this like lucky element. It's the force in nature or a force in nature of growth, like the growth process. We can skip the six pretty much because it's 2 times 3. So it's a combination of the 2 and the 3. Then we get to 7, the subtile. And the subtile is focused discipline. It is hardcore. It has a stick up its butt sometimes. Like it's regimented, it's rigid, it's strict, it is old, it has history, it's not coming from nowhere. It is typically academic, like it needs to be trained, like it's serious about stuff. It doesn't play. And it's focused, so it needs like quiet and things like that. And then so on and so on. And as we go up, which is not, I don't know exactly how this relates to music. I don't know music theory, but it's kind of like these harmonics strike certain notes and chords that are only resonant within them, like the 11th harmonic is always the 11th harmonic. The fifth harmonic is always the fifth harmonic, and blah, 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 and so on. And then they kind of like grow and get more specific to whatever. I like to think about harmonics as dimensions, like Interstellar, that movie, straight up dimensions of reality that inject our dimension with reality. So it's like they're not separate, they're just like back there. And then don't even get me started because then it goes into string theory and all this like quantum physics stuff, like with and how this relates to astrology too is because like when you're actually looking at harmonics on your screen, you're seeing all these crazy shapes and all that kind of stuff. It goes directly to the source energy, things like the God particle and like the idea that our entire universe is constructed by these symmetries that we can't see on all these different scales. We can't see them with the naked eye, but they're all these symmetries. And that's exactly what we're doing with astrology in general, but even more so with harmonic astrology.
Wow. Fascinating. It's like you're tapping into like a whole other level of reality, right? In a way.
Yeah.
And it's like a very subtle, invisible part, but that's like a frequency that your clients can totally like be like confirm.
And that's the craziest part too, Sarah, is the level of confirmation. Because obviously we don't know our clients. Our clients are strangers. I feel like at the beginning of my practice, and I wonder if you had the same journey, because I feel like a lot of us have the same journey as astrologers. But like at the beginning of my practice, it was like word of mouth with my friends. And, my mom might have, you know what I mean? Like it was like that. But now at this stage in my practice, about 10 years in, I don't know any of my clients. So like the confirmation that you get from reading, it's like, I mean, it's mind blowing, right? And if we are tapping into these different levels and dimensions of reality, that level of cosmic intelligence, like I don't feel like I feel like astrology charts are portals. Like they're portals for this like higher level, not of just intelligence, but energy. It's subatomic. You know what I mean? You're looking at something and then it's like directly, you're looking at a harmonic chart or whatever. And then it's like some kind of cosmic force just lays all of it in to your body so that you can see it. You know what I mean? Like it's subatomic.
Yeah. And there's some things that are felt that are difficult to understand that you're living or that you're going through without somebody to reflect them back at you. So, there's a certain level of frequency that if you're isolated in it or you're by yourself in it, like you're gonna think like, am I crazy? Am I really feeling this? Am I just like paranoid? Am I whatever, Until you have somebody reflecting back at you and you're like, oh, right, I knew that all along. I had
Yep,
that feeling, and then it comes like confirmation through astrology is like the most powerful thing. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's crazy. And so, okay, so let's say like the difference that you would get between like a harmonic like reading, like what's the like are you just talking like on the soul level, or can it get like practical? Like which, yeah, is it
Hmm.
regular, degular natal chart transits and progressions, let's say, or what, like, how is it different for the
Well,
client? They expect.
can you repeat that last part? How is it different for the client? What do they expect?
Yeah, what can they expect to get from a harmonic reading that they wouldn't, for instance, from like an evolutionary reading or whatever reading? Like what are you hitting that other astrologers are not even aware of?
Hmm. That's a hard question to answer because like many of us in this profession, I answer people's questions. Like I answer their questions about romance, health, money, profession, where to live, typically. So, and I think this is also specific to astrologers, and I would love to hear your core group because I think we all have core groups. So, groups of clients. So typically, over the years, I've noticed that most people who are attracted to me in my practice are uh, very powerful spiritual people with spiritual abilities who are just starting to discover that, and or they didn't know that at all or whatever. Like they're at the beginning, and then they somehow show up to me, and then I have no idea who they are. I'm reading their chart and it's like, oh my God, that's exactly it. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God. It was like, yeah, no, this is um the most profound energy in your chart. So anyway, to answer your question though, like it's very pragmatic. So we're talking about anything that's coming up in your life, divorce, enemies, what there, you know, you name it. I think that so it's not just on a soul level. Like it definitely reaches a soul level, but it also, like, so for example, you can ask, like, say you wanted to go back to school or something, and this is like a very linear thing, you're one of my clients or whatever, and your harmonics don't possess schooling. Like you're not a seventh harmonic person. You don't have Mercury Mars, which is a signature for education and learning, and you're actually more Venus Uranus. And Venus Uranus is sex, music, dance, or energy healing. And you see Venus Uranus in all these different harmonics, Venus Uranus Neptune, Venus Uranus, and it's like so big. And you don't see sometimes, most of the time, these like huge currents in harmonics and these huge planetary patterns. Much of the time, it's not visible at all in the first harmonic. So you're coming to me talking about, I want to go back to school and blah, 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 blah. And then I see Venus, Uranus, Neptune in your fifth harmonic, your ninth harmonic, it's like your 11th harmonic, it's like, you're a singer. You know what I mean? Like this is like sex, music, dance, energy healing. That's what Venus Uranus is. And then they're like, oh my God, I've been singing for 37 for most of my life, but I just thought it was a pastime or something. That's very common in harmonic readings where it's like things that you think are just like, oh, that's just a pastime and blah blah. It's actually like your core main energy and something that you should be pursuing. Because once you get in alignment with your harmonic energies and all that kind of stuff, then your life flows easier.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so it does get like super precise. Like, no, you're a singer.
Yep.
like really super precise. It's not just like, oh, you vibe well in da da da. No, no. You can like, okay, you can do the thing where you like say exactly very precise things. Wow, that's pretty cool. And so who are like for people who want to start and like diving into that, like the Eberton works are a little like dense. Is that where you would go
Mhm.
to start digging into? I mean, or you could go to Harmonic Astrology 101 and on Clarissa Dolphin explains it all. But what would you read or what would you suggest like as a route for people to get to know more about that?
Well, yeah, I was about to say, like, I would suggest coming to me first, if you like really want to learn about that, because there's the literatures that exist right now. Um, I'll give you all the books. So Reinhold Ebertin is who you mentioned, and his work is dense. So that whole lineage, that was like the birth of harmonic astrology. And that was like in the 1920s or whatever, in the early 1900s. It was the Hamburg School of Astrology that included Alfred Zitta, and like he then influenced Reinhold Ebertin in that time period. And really, that whole thing is cosmobiology. So
Mhm.
any books on cosmobiology and like the impact of cosmobiology, or the purview that I understand from it, is like planets aren't socialized. There's like a physics element to the way that planets should be interpreted astrologically. For example, the moon, it's not just emotions or what have you. Like the moon literally grows our crops and like puts motion in the ocean. You know what I mean? Like it's literal. And I do adopt that purview. So anything by the cosmobiologists, the people I mentioned, that's one step. Then we had like a resurgence with harmonics in the 1970s, um, with David Hamblin and another guy. Why did I forget his name? Dang, I forgot his name. John Addy. So, and that was like, so that 1970s period is when people started using computers more. That's like the birth of modern astrology software, which is why harmonics advanced there, because you can just calculate all the harmonic charts in a few seconds from that time period. So David Hamblin, John Addy, and then my predecessor or my former tutor, David Cochran and Faye Cochran, then they did vibrational astrology, which is that extreme case research sampling situation. And they have a few books as well. So I think those are like the only things that historically exist that I know of that are very like harmonic specific. Um, and that's part of the problem, in my opinion, and maybe the opportunity is that there's so little about it that I think can be processed in ways that are processable to how we use harmonics now. Like it is like I guess it's a frontier. It's a frontier. It's not populated in thought and history and books like something like Hellenistic would be, or even evolutionary, or even like anything like that. Like we're all on the cutting edge, which is why I'm so excited about it too, because you can research anything. Like we need like this year in 2025, I'm going to be revisiting my lunar nodes research with students in my research group, and also expanding my Chiron research and things like that. But we're all in a research group so they can research stuff. People want to research Black Moon Lilith. People want to research everything that you can possibly think of. Also things like, ADHD and blah, blah, blah. Like you can literally research anything. And that is why, to me, that's like the double-edged sword, where it's like, I would love to give all these recommendations, but then we're out here like on the front lines, drawing the analysis now from our research projects. So
Wow, would you say that it's like the most rare type of astrology that's practiced out there? I mean,
Probably, probably, yeah.
right? If not the one of the, right? There's less access, there's less knowledge about it. It's more, it's so, is it harder to study? Would you say like that it's that you really need like the commitment more than you would for another type or
Hmm.
just same, same?
That's such a good question, Sarah. Like, I don't know, right? Like I feel like with that, I don't know if you're going to learn any astrology without commitment. I don't care what kind of branch of astrology it is. Like it's so like if you're not all in, but I think that it can occur as intimidating to study harmonic astrology, but it really is like it's hyper quantum levels, right? Like so if you keep practicing, you just get attuned to the charts. Like there's some kind of force, like you do start feeling it. You know what I mean? So it gets easier. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, there's a level where that's it, like the chart is speaking to you. Like it
Thank
doesn't,
you.
you're like in communication and the thing is talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening in real time. And what are you gonna do? You know? But yeah, that's how much we're in relationship to the craft to show up every day, reading charts. Eventually, we enter a certain flow state where it's like, okay, yeah, that goes. Yeah, definitely. Wow, I'm even more fascinated than I was before, and I was already pretty fascinated. That's really, really interesting. I want to get a reading from you. I'm gonna book a reading with you.
Vice versa too.
I want to see my
But
chart
yeah.
like this, like this, like this, like this, like every angle. Okay, amazing. So tell me a little bit now. So a typical reading, so you pull out your six charts, your 17 charts. You have do that. So you said something about solar arcs. Like I heard you, like solar arcs are a big part of your practice. Is that for every harmonic astrologer? That's a Clarissa thing.
It's a Clarissa thing.
Yeah, I love solar arcs too, man.
Yeah.
I love solar arcs. And for me, like solar arcs with progressions, stop. I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm, that will just like undo, like yes, I love solar arcs. They're such a great tool, and for,
Yeah.
they work really well. A lot of the thing for me, the proof is in the pudding. You know,
Yep.
the practice and you will find it, I'm sure. And so that's what we were saying. I think it's I don't remember which astrologer told me that, like there's no like right or wrong technique or tool. It's like really
Yeah.
like the right technique for the astrologer, and that's just gonna help you do the thing. But so yeah, we agree that solar arcs are amazing. You use them for
Yeah.
prediction techniques. Um,
Yes.
do you have other tools that you use for prediction?
Yeah. And I just want to just first acknowledge, like, I love that you love solar arcs and we're in the solar arc crew. I would die for solar arc.
Me too, die hard. I tell everybody, like every time I do a reading, that's something I will pull is your solar arcs and your progression.
Yes.
I want to see where your stuff is going. And they're so important. So,
Hmm.
yeah, solar arc crew, activate.
So activate the solar arc crew, million percent. Yeah, like to me, like solar arc is the most for predictive techniques. It's the most reliable for individuals and other kind of electional things that you would be looking at, like if you're looking at a business chart or if you're looking at a country's chart or things like that, like solar arc, because solar arc is It's once in a lifetime. So it's very different from transits. First of all, transits are collectively held. So transits affect the entire everything. And but solar arcs only affect you. Solar arcs are like they're so like your little pocket thing that is like so only for you and by you. So there's that. Like in terms of predictive techniques, I'm like I don't want to use the word psycho because I'm so into like a lot of I do transit to natal. I do transit to transit. In addition to solar arc, even though solar arc is a form of a progression, I don't use secondary progress charts. Um, solar arc's like my only progression, but like so I also use midpoints in forecasting. I use harmonics in forecasting. I use what else do I do for predictive forecasting? It's really going to be solar arc, transit to natal, transit to transit. Oh, another thing that I use is composite charts. Composite charts are, and I use composite charts primarily for synastry and um forecasting analysis. And you can use composites with so many different things. I'm obsessed with composite charts. You can use composite charts. Obviously, synastry, it's like, how are you compatible as individuals in relationship? So the composite chart is one force, right? You have your individual charts, and then the composite is you as a force, one unit. So, but then you can do that with so many things. You in a business, you and a city, you and a state, you and a blah blah blah, or these all these different kinds of things to see what the ultimate outcome is as a united force. So yeah, those are my predictive techniques, really.
And in composite, you use midpoints, the midpoint technique. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's your baby there is midpoints, huh? Midpoints are something that I'm really also like more playing with right now, but I don't have like it's not part of like my professional, like I use it on my clients thing yet.
Mm,
Then I'm just like vibing with it with myself and kind of like
mm,
how I see the astrology, like let's say of the moment.
mm,
But I'm not, there's a lot of things that I don't use on my clients that I use on myself. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
like I'm like only proven techniques for you guys. Like I keep
Mm,
stuff pure for them, but for me, I'm ready to do more experiments and, play with things. But so midpoint,
yep.
so when we were talking about that, the minor grand trine of 2025, it is the midpoint to the grand trine. And that's why I was like, ooh, but
Mm.
her. I'm loving Saturn, Neptune, and Aries at midpoint. I'm like, yes, I'm rooting for her. I'm so rooting for this aspect. You don't understand. I see everybody like freaking out about it, and I'm really rooting for her because I see her like sit so nice at midpoint, like a good girl. And I'm like, you can do it, Vic. I swear to God, like I feel like almost protective of that aspect because everybody's a little bit like um freaking out about it, but I'm
Hmm.
solid rooting for Saturn and Neptune. Like really, but
Uh,
yeah,
I love your energy.
look,
There's always beauty, right? Come on.
yeah, I mean, sometimes it's hard to see the beauty in it, but if anything, I
Yeah.
think like astrology can help us find the beauty in whatever there is. That could be the lens
Yep.
through which to find the beautiful or the meaning or the value of our experience. Um, Not to say
Mhm.
like it can get gaslighty if you're like too much into this,
Mm.
know what I mean? Of like, oh, try to find the silver lining or whatever. Like it doesn't have to get to that point where we're just like totally bypassy and, going straight to like it's beautiful, it's a trine or whatever. While people are seriously like with their boots on the ground type of thing, you
Thank
know?
you.
So there's like it's the both end with astrology that it can help us make meaning and like make this life more, yeah, meaningful, or have better insight or more perspective or a different perspective, but it doesn't like take away from the validity of like our real life experience. Both end, right?
Oh God, you gave me body chills with that. Yeah, like 1,000,000%. I feel like sometimes like astrologers can be kind of like in a laboratory where you're just kind of like it's like the crisis is happening and then you're just making trying to make so much sense of it while something is actively burning and suffering in front of you. I don't know if astrology from that angle is like actually helpful all the time. And then like in terms of gaslighty, within astrology, I think astrology is just so profound. Like when we're talking about, being in communion with direct communication with the divination, when it's talking to you, when the charts are talking to you, the charts, like, they aren't gaslighty. Like, the charts will serve you, like, if it's Saturn Pluto, it's Saturn Pluto. That sucks. You know what I mean? Like, that is a hard thing to live through, especially with transit. Natal, a little bit different. Like, I feel like natal analysis, I feel like the universe loves that you're here. I think it's a little, it's more joyous for the individual being an expressed soul. And it's more kind of like supportive. But when we get to like kind of like mundane transit to transit, and transit to natal, there are forces that are hard to deal with, and the astrology serves you that up. And like the acknowledgement part of these hardship and difficult times, sometimes that's the only beauty, where it's like you've got Saturn trine or square your Pluto right now. Yeah, that's why you've been worn down to your knees. That acknowledgement is the beautiful part, and knowing that it's going to be over, so, you know,
That's such like the biggest tool, honestly, for my clients is this, is when is this going to be over? Or like the fact that I can tell them, like, I can see it's hard right now and it will be out by April. Like literally, when you can tell them April, you breathe, like they can be like, okay, I
yes,
have just a little bit more. And then yeah, it feels so good because that's the truth actually of our reality is that things change. They don't stay the same. And so when we're in it, like in the moment when it's difficult, like having somebody to tell you, like, okay, it's gonna go. And then these are the ways that we can make it through it. That's the most helpful thing. Is this thing. Is like, no, you're gonna be okay. We're gonna survive this. And it does,
yes.
and it does suck. Like literally a reading I had while Pluto was on my rising and like tearing my life apart, Clarissa. Like honestly, nothing was left after Pluto was done with me.
Mm.
Girl, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, Pluto spit me out like a little baby, naked with nothing. It was a thing. It was a long 4 years, but I had my astrologer, Deborah Silverman. She was there for me and she was telling me, no, no, you're going to be okay. We're doing this. It's going to be okay. Let's cry the tears. Let's go through it. But it's almost done. You're almost done. You're almost done. And that like nearly saved my life, I think, honestly, you know? And it gave me also some form of language to, oh, astrology can really be helpful. I wonder if I should do it, you know?
Mm.
Yeah, also by the end of it, yeah, it was crazy. Also by the end of it, I knew like I had to change work. I had to find more meaning. I had to
Mm.
do something real. It was crazy. Yeah.
Ooh, body chills.
Pluto on the rising. And what's funny is that like so that was for me 2008 and I don't know if you remember. So when we met at that at that, I don't know if we met then. Did we meet while you were president of ESAR? Yeah, that's when we met. Did we meet before?
Yeah,
I voted
I
for you,
don't think so.
first of all. Huh. So,
Thank you.
so, but at that moment, I don't know if you remember, so ESAR has a baby sister chart to me. Like it's creepy. We have like the same chart, but
Whoa.
she's just a few years younger than me. And so, and our rising, same rising in Capricorn, I'm at 9 degrees,
Whoa.
like late, but we have everything the same. She's like my baby sister. And so when I saw Pluto come on her rising, and I was like, oh, my sister Isar. Like this is literally how I feel about the chart of this organization, is that I see this chart, I'm like, oh, my girl, how are you? It's literally, and the rising can burn everything down and do the Phoenix thing for sure. For sure. Have you had that? What's your rising, baby?
I'm 2931 Gemini.
Okay, so you're spared. Are you?
Oh, not for long. I'm waiting. First of all, I'm waiting for transit Jupiter to get to conjunct my ascendant. Please get out of my 12th house. I am so over it. Even though I feel like it triggers both at the same time, which is so mutable, such a mutable thing, right? To have two houses at the same time, but it's still in my 12th house. And then we're gonna have Uranus. So I will not be spared,
Oh,
but I think, yeah, sorry.
yeah, Uranus on the rising is I think it could be sweet. Do you not?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
tell me all about it.
Listen, my friend who had Uranus on the rising, the only difference when she was done is that she had full body tattoos by the time it was. It was everywhere. Her like full, not inch was spared. So that was the last Uranus transit to the rising that I really witnessed, which was like really literal, very literal. She took it literally to her whole body. Um, but yeah, no, I mean Uranus could bring you some good surprises. We're like, come on. Goodness. I mean, I guess it depends with like your natural relationship with the planet and your chart and whatever,
Mm.
whatnot. I just had Uranus on my sun. I still have. I have a sun at 26 degrees of Taurus. So I'm
Mm.
fully being Uranid right now. And it's okay. I'm all right. I had a minor car accident the day of exact transit to my son, which was like so predictable and dumb. I got rear-ended and nothing really happened, but it was like a Uranus moment to be like, just mark the day. Like, okay, Uranus, I see you. But
Yeah.
apart from that, it's been okay, you know? Yeah. So that's my
Yeah.
that. Ooh, yeah. So, okay, so hold up. So you said midpoints. Yeah. So you said solar arcs, midpoints. You said something else that you like to use, and I forgot what it was.
Composite.
Oh, composite. Yeah. So which is another form of midpoint. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And so that's the menu. That's your regular menu that's like your go-to, and then you just let the chart speak to you and astrology do the rest. And in your bio it says diviner. Can you tell me a bit like what that means for you and how that comes around in your practice?
Yeah, so I'm also a tarot diviner and I consult the I Ching oracle literally all day long. Like I'll just be talking to the I Ching like we're talking now. But I don't use it with clients. And so that's like one thing I only use for myself, like, and not with clients. So yeah, like I'm a diviner, and I feel like all of us are as astrologers, we're also diviners, but then it's like, if you do divine using different methodologies, like tarot, in addition to astrology, you might use Ifa, or you might, read tea or bones or something, or rocks or whatever. We are all divining. So we're getting our information from some apparatus. If it's rocks or whatever, an astrology chart, they're all like apparatus where we're going to seek, or tarot cards, where we're going to seek information, and we need to divine to do so. So that's like why I call myself a diviner. Keep it open.
Like you read, you're reading.
Yes.
Or it is you're reading, you're just reading. And so in divining, there's like divine. And so do you think that this is like all like a spiritual practice to you?
Yes.
Like is this, yeah, tell me a bit about that. Like is like astrology part of like your spiritual practice in a way? Is that all like your way to communicate with the divine or yeah.
100%. It's one of the many ways, like to communicate with the divine. But yeah, I do think it's a divine practice, because my purview on it is like we are divining as astrologers, or however else, to communicate with the divine, literally in a way where the divine, like we're communicating, typically seeking answers. Like with the I Ching is a different level, because like the I Ching, I'll be like, she gets on my nerves or whatever. Like I'm just like talking to the I Ching. Sometimes I'll ask specific questions, like, did they accept my application? Like, or what do you, but I'll ask the I Ching, like, what do you think about Charles? You know what I mean? Like, so where it talks to me different with astrology, it's more specific sometimes. Like it's not like I'm talking to Ralph at the bus stop or whatever. And I don't want to diminish I Ching like that, but because it's not like that. I still have respect. Like I never cuss, and I cuss a lot in my normal world. But I don't cuss when I divine. Like I don't cuss when I divine with any apparatus, because it's too divine. Like I have too much respect for it to bring in that BS, if you will. You know what I mean? Like I'm coming to you with respect. So yeah, like there is like a divine thing, and I believe that. Like I believe that we're talking to the source energy, and or our guides, and or whatever, but we're talking, like that is why divination to me is like so important and beautiful, and like thank you for this gift, from our ancestors and stuff, because it is accessible. And I do other stuff to connect with spirituality too. Like I will do spiritual ceremonies, shamanic ceremonies, sound baths. I'll consult with, mediums and people who talk to dead people and things like that. I've been known to do plant medicine, access on drums, whatever. Like I'm all about, prayer, altar work, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, like in terms of, and I think it also, very frankly, I think that a lot of us, and I wonder what you think too, like I think like our interfaces, I think we're chosen. Like I think, the universe was like, I want you to be an astrologer, Sarah, because I can talk to you like that. I want you to be an astrologer, Clarissa, because that's how we can talk to you. Other people talk via prayer or whatever. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, question mark. I'm like, do I feel who chose whom, the astrology? So I mean, for sure, it would be ridiculous for me to say that no, because like it happened to me. Like it literally
mm,
happened. It's like something that, I don't feel like you know what I mean? I don't feel like when I was a kid, like I was like, oh, I want to be an astrologer or whatever. It's just like I was an astrologer. And then, you know, and then I realized I was an astrologer kind of thing. Like at some point I realized that that was actually my function in the community in a way. The the thing about like is the divine talking to me through it or am I talking to the divine through it? Like I don't know if it's a chicken or an egg situation. but it definitely is like a way for me to connect with the part of people that is consciousness, or
Yep.
the that part of them, and to connect on another, like, yeah, frequency, on another level of exchange, of impact, of what we do within the session. And what is brilliant about having sessions is that also the format is that the person like agrees, like that we're both in our roles, right? That the person
Mm.
wants to receive that and that you want to give it. That there's like this beautiful moment
Mm.
where the exchange happens. Then it can be really fucked up because I'm certain, and I've heard of terrible astrologers that use their powers for evil.
Mhm.
We've
Mhm.
heard of them, we've met
Yes.
them. Some of them
Yes.
are on an ego high, and they have like this whole like power relationship where they love that people come to them with questions and that they're the ones to have answers. And so a big thing that I tell my students is like check which part of you wants to be an astrologer. And even like imagine the worst case scenario, if you were really a piece of shit, why would you do it? And then check still if that's not still somewhere inside of like your ego reality. Because, we do,
Yes.
it's impossible to navigate life without an ego. We get it. Okay. So it's going to show up. So like to be aware of that is like important, but also like the agreement that two people have that we're going to connect on this level. That right now we're speaking, but we're not talking about, you know, like this maybe more horizontal reality. We're talking about another perspective of it, and we're both in that exchange. And so it really creates something really deep. The conversations we have with our clients, they can be deeper than conversations that you've had with people that you know for 30, 40 years. You know what I mean? Like in a 1 hour with a stranger. Like
Yeah.
we're talking about like existential, like real deep soul searching within 10 minutes of meeting each other. And that's like an immense privilege to be able to do that with people. And so like I feel chosen more so like in the way of like lucky too. Like what a great way to spend my time, right? Having this level of conversation with people. It's really cool that we get to do that.
My dog is barking in agreement, and I totally agree with everything that you said, and you keep everything you were saying kept giving me body chills. Yes, it's so profound. Really do get into those depths in consultation, and I love your advice for students. I think it's brilliant advice. I think we both, as professional astrologers in the field, we have heard horror stories about people wanting to commit suicide after being with astrologers, and it's all different, having astrology consultations, and it's all different levels of astrologers. It's people that by name who are lauded, and they, like everybody thinks they're a great astrologer, and actually some of them are assholes and actually cause a lot of damage. And then there's the person who isn't even an astrologer, just calls themselves an astrologer and is like, whatever. And then everywhere in between. But really the ultimate thing is the ego. It's part of physiological reality for human beings. It's a survival mechanism and tool. And in a lot of ways, let's be honest about it, it's an amazing feeling to be an advisor when you make a difference for other people's lives with your advice. And, there is this kind of like precipice where it's like it can be so self-serving, where I just want to be right, like, and if you're coming into astrology like that, you're likely to be like the damager or whatever. I think it's just based, but I feel like it doesn't shift in the discourse and the reality of human stuff, meaning like it's the same problem across all fields. It's not just in astrology to be like self-serving and to be ego forward. like it's and have a lack of empathy and vulnerability and stuff. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true that it's in every field. There's some natural like power relationships, but I think that automatically when there's a client, an advisor, a consultant, or somebody, and you're right, like there is like, let's be real, like there is kind of a high, like when you have really positive impact
Yes.
on someone's life, when they tell you, it's funny, the Sabian symbol for this new moon coming up is a popularity that proves ephemeral. I read it yesterday. I was preparing for my new moon thing. And so, very Aquarian in a way, right? The thing of like, okay, calm your tits. You'll be fine. Get off the pedestal, you know, what I mean? Like it's very, I felt like, okay, 9 degrees Aquarius, like I hear you, it's like, all applause and all criticism is temporary, really. And so the high that it gives you, whether that's the applause and your popularity, it'll give you like a momentarily high. And the same thing with like the criticism that will be like momentary, like it's not everlasting. And so the Rudyard kind of like word on that was like, worldly qualities don't last, like only your soul, whatever, is eternal. But there's something there, about like, yeah, it's a high, we get it. And also like try not to get too high on it because it's going to ruin your work. It's going to ruin your clients and it's going to ruin your work. There's like really, for me, there's something about it that's very like, this is too precious for me to kind of like fumble it totally by being so high on my own supply.
Amen. Amen, Sarah. Yeah, 1,000,000%. And to your point, that I like to look at it as I am a vessel for the divination. In fact, when I'm actually performing divination for other people, it's almost, and you're making me appreciate what we do for a living even more. It is a gift to me because I don't have to be Clarissa anymore. Like, I don't need, like, my ego is secondary to the messages, to the divination. And I get to experience and totally feel another being's universe. Like, what a gift that I don't have to think about how fly I am or whatever ego Clarissa wants to think about. And I think that that offers a different level of output and dynamism in terms of your ability as an astrologer, because that means that you can be 100% with your clients in their universe. If the ego is there, you're 50% or you're whatever percent, so it's like, to me, it's an opportunity because, like, to me, ego can be such a pain in the ass. It's always thinking about the worst, survival possible things or whatever. Dude, there's so much to ego. It's not all bad, but it's like that is part of the divinity of the consultation space, is to just have all these things pouring and being kind of like shared with the elimination of that blockage of your everyday common ego. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's really deep. I love what you said about like leaving it out the door. Like, it's okay. I will come back to you in an hour. I'll be right.
yeah.
Now let me focus on this person and their chart and really like hold this moment special. And that's how a lot of our blessings happen, actually, is when we're doing the practice of like removing ourselves from the thing. I think it is it's part of the blessing. First of all, what a relief for us to not have to be with ourselves 24/7. Like I'm like, "Ah, I get a break from thinking about me, literally." So
Yeah.
that's also a relief. But also, like, I think that that energy of like coming in almost like lightly, gently holding the chart with like care and gentleness and your clients with like reverence and importance, that just like brings about the blessing to your business, to your practice, to your clients, to you, to everything. Because like in all like sacred work, the intention to it really matters. Really, really. You
Mm.
I think that's what like the Eagle and the Clark, that Bernadette Brady book. I mean, it's a lot of like prediction techniques and like Saros stuff and eclipses and stuff, and it's really a great book. But the beginning part is about the Eagle would be technique, and the Lark, not the Clark, the Lark is intuition. And so your ego cannot sing to the gods because its voice is not nice. But your lark cannot fly high enough. And so the lark has to go on the back of the eagle. So you rely on technique, but you make sure that it's like intuition, intention, and you're like care for it that's really gonna go and please, the gods or whatever. Yeah.
Mm. That's beautiful.
Yeah, Bernadette, man, she's something. I really like this book, Bernadette Brady. I like her. I don't know, I've never met her. Have you? Reflection of
No.
sun, the reflection of my screen on my glass is really annoying me, but it's okay. I'm gonna ignore it for a minute. Like I don't see it. Hold on. It's following me. It's okay. Amazing. That's brilliant. I love talking to you. You really shared so much insight. So to close out, like, is there like something that you're nerding out about now, like a project that you're building? Like, what's coming up for you? What are you into? What are you creating? What are you building right now?
Wow. That is mega. I am currently building like a world of education, really, and like research communities with harmonic astrology and building books and building like all these fun things like in-person events and like dinners and things with astrologers and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to that, like in terms and also like my brand, Clarissa Dolphin explains it all. Like now I'm at the stage in my astrological practice where now I'm at brand, where for most of like the 10 years, before I started transforming my business, like about a year or two ago, it's been about experience and technique. Like, how can I be an actual good astrologer in consultation? And a lot of the answers to that was just showing up and doing the consultation in addition to the studies and stuff like that. But I feel like it was a training in that way. And so now it's like on brand, which is a different level of challenges. But it's also like, wow, it almost feels like a graduation. So that's cool. I'm and just like on a nerdy level, I'm interested in esoteric astrology because I just want to start looking at Earth a little more, particularly in the climate crisis. I want to define Earth, like what does that mean? And we can do that from harmonics, but what do the esoteric astrologers say? Because they use Earth. Like I don't know of any other branch of astrology that uses Earth. Other things I'm always interested in, but I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to study is like nakshatras, the Vedic thing. Those things are so accurate for me. It's one of the techniques I'll only use for me because I don't know it yet. Like Sarah, like I don't know, but I'm so into it. And I'm also just kind of I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm just feeling blessed to be alive right now. Like I'm just like excited about whatever is to come because we're about to enter like whole new epochs of just crazy. Crazy good, crazy bad, just like so new. So,
So new, right? So it's really
yeah.
exciting for the world and also for astrology. Like, do you feel like, I mean, you and I, so I started practicing professionally about 10 years ago, and studying a little bit earlier. But you and I kind of like came in around the same time, right? Which is also like at the same time of like internet schools, right? So that's the type of
Mhm.
like, wait, we can Google it. We don't have to find the place. We don't have to go to physical Kepler. Or remember when Kepler was a place? Um, and yeah, so finding all of that online, like there's a big new age of astrology. Like this is the new age of astrology in a way. For all the good and the bad that brought to our industry. Like some of it is for sure okay. Some of it is annoying, we have to admit, but some of it is really great and to be celebrated. So, do you think that it's becoming more and more like a universal language?
1,000,000%. I mean, it's so popular. You can see just from like a topical level, like everybody talks about astrology. Brands are incorporating it into their marketing and things like that. Like the LA Public Library does, oh, it's Aquarius season. Like they do in their, like it's the library. And so anyway, yeah, it's definitely a more ubiquitous language, and that's really exciting. I'm really here for technique, and I'm also here for astrologers as a community kind of being better. Like I said, like I met so many assholes in this industry, but then there are people like you who are amazing, like the best people. Like Sarah, I consider you that. Celeste Brooks, Tara All, Sam Reynolds. Like there are so many people who are just Colin Bedell, like who are like amazing human beings. I just want to see how we converge kind of like collectively, because I've also had the opposite end of very cutthroat astrologers who will do anything to take you down. So it's like when we have this like ubiquitous language that now everybody's speaking in astrology, what what how can we uphold standards of integrity? And it's not just knowledge, it's also behavior. Because, like I said, you have like these wonderful people who are amazing astrologers. They've been in the game for 50 years, but their behavior is so cutthroat. And we don't have time to talk about that today. But a lot of people, I feel like in the industry, as astrologers, talk often about the Pluto and Leo generation, which is our elders. I'm 40 now. I think you're just a little bit older than me or whatever, Sarah, or we're in the same age bracket, but our elders are like the 70-year-olds, the 80-year-olds, all that. And they have not been supportive elders en masse. Like, and I think that they should be ashamed of themselves. Um, this is good. I'm being so real though. I don't want to be an elder like that. I would like to see an astrology community where like we grow together and it's not just kumbaya. It's that self-righteousness that we were talking about, that ego. Like it's a big problem here. So anyway, we're good though. You and I are talking. Sarah's like incredible, and there's lots of hope for our industry and it's beautiful. So.
There is a lot of hope, and it's true what you're saying. I think that it's just this generation period, like I think, yeah, that it's true that Pluto and Leo is a tough generation. There's a few of them that are like real gems, and that really do are inclusive and really want to, um, yeah, to share because these people also, the 75-year-olds, the 80-year-olds, they have a wealth of knowledge.
Yes.
They need to be contributing. Like, let it out.
Yeah.
Tell us. Share it.
Please.
Open your mouth. You just have to like press play and we will listen, literally. Just don't kick me while you're talking, you know? That's the very
Thank you.
that's all we're asking. But it's true. But I think that on the world scale, I wonder if it's going to be the same way for us when we're 80. I wonder if it's just the nature of being that age, like just like, oh, a little before your Uranus return, like, oh, that's it. You get a little sour, you get a little bitter. You, who knows? Like I wonder if it I wonder if it's like generational or is it like generational question mark? Like it's a real question for me and I'm curious if we're going to be the same way. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe when we're
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be like, "Oh, these kids, they know nothing. They're so stupid." Generation Beta and Generation Delta. Oh, You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll see. But it's true that there is like a little bit of like separation that sometimes it feels good to see moments where people really want to contribute, really want to do things together as a community. But we get glimpses, moments where we're like, it's possible, right? We've seen some magic happen. So again, look at us. This is the fingers crossed episode. Like rooting so hard for astrology, for Saturn and Moon, for the USA, for what else are we? We're just rooting hard. We're rooters for all of the astrologers and for all the astrologers who are watching this and who are going to want to go study with you. We're rooting for them too. And so the last question of the podcast is because, like I took the name. So you're Clarissa Explains It All because TV, and I'm inside the Astro studio because TV, right? Do you remember inside the actor studio?
Loved that show.
Loved it, right? So James Lipton always represent, love him. So I don't know if I love him really, but I do right now a lot. Thank you, James. And so the last question that he would ask the people was, um, so it goes like this. It goes, if you believe in such a thing, when you arrive at the pearly gates, what do you wish God to tell you? And I love this question. So imagine you're arriving at the pearly gates and God is opening the door. What is she saying?
Good job, come in.
Good job, come in. Yay! I love that. Amen. Okay, again, fingers crossed. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Clarissa. This was really great. My light went all wonky. This is like a dark episode with reflections on my glasses. It's gonna be the look for this episode. Tell you, I forgot to turn the magic light on and it became night, but it was so fun to talk to you. I love you. I think
Love
you're
you too.
wonderful. I can't wait to hear all the feedback from the people watching of how amazing you are and how you blew everyone's mind. So thank you so much for accepting to be with me today, my love.
It's so my honor. Thank you so much for having me. I love you too. Brilliant, wonderful, beautiful Sarah. I love the light on your glasses.
Listen, it was the look for today. Listen, like in LA, it's all sunny, and like I give Montreal life right now. My son who edits this is not going to be happy. He's going to be like, you needed to turn on the light. You had one job. Anyway, that's it. That's the deal. Thank you so much, my love.
That's my honor. Thank you.